My name's Julian. I'm 32, and for most of my adult life, I've been the financial backbone of my family, by choice at first, then by guilt, and eventually out of obligation I never agreed to but couldn't seem to shake. I make decent money as a systems engineer, good money, honestly, but not enough to bankroll four fully grown adults and their endless string of bad decisions without eventually asking myself why I kept doing it. Still, every month like clockwork, I sent over $2,000, $1,200 for rent on the apartment my parents and younger brother shared, for $100 for the spare car they constantly claimed was ours, and a few hundred more for food, phone bills, and whatever else they insisted they couldn't live without. Never once did I hear a thank you. Not even once. But I didn't start questioning it seriously until my birthday came around this year. It was a Wednesday. Nothing special, no expectations. I'd planned a quiet dinner with my girlfriend and a few coworkers who'd become more like family over the years. Around noon, I opened the family group chat out of habit. There were messages flying around. My brother, Zach, had just passed his driver's test. My dad was joking about how many fender benders he'd cost. My mom was sending blurry photos of him holding his temporary license like it was the freaking crown jewels. I scrolled up and up. Not a single mention of my birthday. I typed, "Hey, just wondering, did you all forget today's my birthday?" and hit send before I could second-guess myself. The read receipts popped up fast. Dad saw it. Zach saw it. Then Mom. A moment later, 3 gray dots danced at the bottom of the screen. I waited. Then her reply came. "Why would we waste time on your birthday? You're an adult, get over it." I stared at it for a long time, like it had been written in a different language. Waste time? I reread it 3 times before closing the app. My hands were cold, and not from the air. It was like the words had sucked the warmth straight out of me. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad at first. I felt hollow, like something I'd been clinging to, some last thread of connection, had finally snapped. I told my girlfriend what happened that night over dinner. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You don't owe them your whole life, Jules," she said quietly. "You know that, right?" I nodded, but I didn't really believe it until the next morning. I woke up early, like usual, made coffee, sat on the balcony of my condo, and watched the city wake up. It was still cold out, but the sun was breaking through. And I sat there, sipping my coffee, replaying every single thing I'd done for them, every rent payment, every emergency wire transfer, every time I gave up something for myself so they wouldn't have to struggle. I remember driving 3 hours in a blizzard to fix their busted heater. I remembered signing the lease on that apartment in my name because their credit was trash. I remembered loaning Zach my second car for the weekend 2 years ago and never getting it back. And I remembered how my mom used to call me her good boy, but only when she needed something. I remembered how my dad once told me, "You're not like your brother. You'll always land on your feet." That was his way of saying, "So you can take the hit for us." That morning, something in me changed. Call it clarity. Call it being done. But for once, I didn't second-guess the decision. I opened my bank app, canceled the auto payment to their rent account, and stopped the monthly transfer. Then I logged into the car's tracking app. It was still under my name, after all, and saw it was parked outside their apartment. 20 minutes later, I was downstairs, driving over to pick it up. When I pulled into the lot, Zach was sitting on the hood, scrolling through his phone. He looked up as I approached and gave me this confused half-smile. "Yo, Jules, you bringing me food or something?" "No," I said simply, holding out my hand. "Keys." He blinked. "What?" "The car. I'm taking it back." "You're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" He laughed nervously, still waiting for the punchline. "Dude, come on. I've got work in an hour. You can take the bus." He stood, suddenly defensive. "Seriously? Over a stupid birthday?" I stared at him. "No, not over a birthday. Over everything." He muttered something under his breath and tossed me the keys. I didn't say another word. I got in the car and drove it straight to my mechanic friend who owed me a favor. Told him to change the plates and store it for a while. Then I made one more stop. The leasing office. The apartment they were living in was leased under my name. When I'd signed it, they were 3 months behind on rent and 2 weeks from eviction. I had the paperwork, the signature, everything. So I walked in, smiled at the receptionist, and said, "Hi, I'd like to terminate my lease." Effective immediately. The look she gave me was confused. "Sir, are you sure? The lease has another 6 months." "I'm aware. I'm also aware I'm the only one who's been paying for it. I won't be anymore." There was some red tape, of course. Legal forms, early termination fees. I paid the fees on the spot. It felt like paying for peace. That night, I changed the locks on my condo. The spare key they had? Useless now. I also texted the building management to remove their names from the emergency contact list and revoke any guest access they might have had. Then I went home, grabbed a drink, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, my phone lit up with a stream of messages. First it was Zach, then Mom, then Dad. I didn't open them right away. I wanted to savor this. After half an hour, curiosity won out, and I finally tapped one open. Julian, what is going on? We're locked out of the apartment. Another one came in seconds later. Why is the car gone? I had work today. Then one from Mom. This isn't funny, Julian. You're being cruel and immature. We're your family. I scrolled through them, watching the tone shift from confusion to anger to desperation. No apologies, though. Just blame. Accusations. Demands. Like I owed them something. Like I'd broken a sacred contract none of us ever actually signed. And then I got a call. It was Mom. I stared at the screen for a while before answering. Her voice was sharp. What have you done? I took a deep breath. I stopped being your bank. Julian, this isn't you. You're better than this. No, Mom, I said, my voice calm. I just finally realized I deserve better than this. She scoffed into the phone like I'd told her the sky was purple. Deserve better? She repeated, the way someone might repeat a line they think is laughably stupid. We're your family, Julian. We raised you. I didn't flinch, and I repaid that 100 times over. I've been paying your bills for years. I bought your groceries, paid Zach's tuition. That was your choice, she snapped. There it was, the line I'd been waiting for. The one that made my stomach twist with that sharp, bitter mix of vindication and heartbreak. You never asked us not to take the money, she added coldly. You just gave it. I let the silence stretch. Because what do you even say to that? When I didn't answer, she launched into a monologue like she'd been rehearsing it in the mirror for weeks. You've always acted like you're better than the rest of us. Just because you got out, just because you have some fancy job and a girlfriend who looks down on us. You think that means you can cut us off whenever you feel like it? We needed that money, Julian. Your father is still recovering from surgery. Zach has work, and I have enough stress without you pulling some self-righteous pity act over your birthday. She emphasized the word like it was poison in her mouth. You're right, I said quietly. You do have stress, but that stress is yours now, not mine. I ended the call. I won't lie, my hands were shaking. My stomach felt like it was twisting in knots. Because even after everything she said, even after the years of manipulation, there was still a part of me, the old part, that wanted to go back. The part that was terrified of being alone, of being labeled the selfish one, the ungrateful son. But that part of me was dying. And in its place, something else was growing. It wasn't anger. Not anymore. It was resolve. Later that day, I called the leasing office again. Apparently, my family hadn't taken the news well. They were told they had 7 days to vacate. I heard there had been shouting, screaming. Zach had threatened legal action. My dad said something about suing me for abandonment, which made the receptionist laugh awkwardly over the phone. They don't really have a case, she assured me. Your name's on the lease, not theirs. They're technically squatters now. I thanked her and hung up. Then I opened the family group chat again, something I hadn't done since the get over it message. It was filled with unread messages. Zach had written, "You're seriously kicking us out? You're insane, bro." My dad had added, "After everything we did for you, everything we gave up, this is how you repay us." There were even a few from relatives I barely spoke to, probably dragged into it by my mom. One aunt wrote, "You really should be ashamed of yourself. Your mother is in tears." I typed, slowly and deliberately. None of you were there for me. Not on my birthday. Not for years. You used me. That ends now. And I left the group. I turned off my phone after that. Took a walk to clear my head. No destination in mind. Just wandering through the streets, feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I'd finally done something for me. Heavier because, well, it was still my family. Or at least, it had been. When I got home, I found a voicemail waiting. It was from Zach. "Look, I get that you're mad, okay? But this is next level. You can't just throw us out and take the car. I had a date this weekend. What am I supposed to drive, a scooter?" There was a pause. Then, quieter, "Mom's not doing well, man. She keeps saying she failed as a mother. That you hate her." I stared at the screen, unmoved. They were finally feeling something. Not guilt, maybe, but discomfort, the sting of consequences, the first real taste of life without me as their unpaid lifeline. And yet, still not a single apology. Not one. We're sorry we forgot your birthday. Not one. We didn't realize how much we were taking from you. Not one. You deserved better. Just whining. Just more entitlement. Just guilt dressed up as concern. That weekend, my girlfriend and I went out of town. No phones. No notifications. We rented a cabin by the lake and made pancakes in the morning. I told her everything. Every moment I'd swallowed growing up. Every time I let myself believe I didn't matter as long as I kept the peace. She didn't say much. Just held me. That silence was louder than anything my family had screamed in years. When we got back, I finally sat down at my desk and wrote a single email. Not to my parents. Not to Zach. But to their landlord, confirming again in writing that I had terminated the lease and that I was not responsible for any damages caused after the end date. It felt like erasing my name from a crime scene. I hadn't heard from any of them in 3 days. And then Monday morning rolled around. I was sipping coffee, scanning through emails, when I saw a name I hadn't expected to see pop up again. Not my mom. Not Zach. Not my dad. But my aunt. The same one who'd said, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Subject line, "Can we talk?" I clicked it open, expecting another rant. But what I read, that changed everything. The email was short. 3 lines. No greeting. No signature. "Your mom told us everything. I'm not taking sides, but there's more going on than you know. Please call me. This isn't just about your birthday. Aunt Marcia." I stared at it for a long time, unsure whether to laugh or just delete it. The same woman who'd accused me of being heartless was now sending cryptic emails like she was suddenly Switzerland. Not taking sides? Really? I almost ignored it. Almost. But something about that phrase, "there's more going on than you know," nagged at me. I hate riddles. Always have. Especially when they come wrapped in family drama. So I called her. Just once. No voicemail, no text, no long dramatic intro. She picked up on the second ring. "Julian," she said, like she'd been waiting. "I got your email," I said flatly. "This better not be some emotional ambush." There was a long pause, followed by a sigh. "No ambush," she said. "Just some things I think you deserve to hear." I didn't respond. I let her keep talking. She started slow, careful, like she wasn't sure how much I already knew. It started with money. Apparently, the money I'd been sending? It wasn't all going to bills. My mom had been pocketing a chunk of it every month. Not saving. Not using it for groceries or Zach's school like she always claimed. She'd been loaning it out to friends, to church acquaintances, even to some cousin I barely remembered, claiming it was her side income. When people paid her back with interest, she told everyone it was money she'd made from smart investing. "You're kidding," I said quietly, not even sure who I was talking to anymore. "I'm not," Marcia said. And that's not the worst of it. Apparently, a few months back, my mom had started bragging that she was going to help Zach buy a car. Not use one. Own one. A down payment, she said, so he can get some independence. That car? The one I just reclaimed? She was planning to gift it to him officially on his birthday, with a fake bow and everything. The kicker? She was going to say it was from her and Dad, with my name still on the registration. My stomach turned. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I told her it was wrong," Marcia said. "I told her months ago." She just shrugged and said, "He won't care. He's got more than enough." I was silent. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Like I'd been the ATM and the punchline all in one. "She used you," Marcia continued. "All of you did, honestly. But her the worst. And now that you've cut her off, she's spiraling. That's why she's dragging the rest of us into it. She wants sympathy, leverage." I thought you should know what really happened. For the first time in years, I had no words. Just this eerie, buzzing quiet in my mind. Like a fog machine had been cleared out and I could finally see everything for what it was. "Thank you," I finally said. "I'm sorry it took this long," she replied. "I should have told you sooner." We hung up. I sat there in silence for a long time, watching the cursor blink in my inbox. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I considered writing back to the family group chat, but I'd already left it. I considered calling my mom, but the sound of her voice felt like poison now. Instead, I opened a document. I started writing down everything: dates, amounts, payments, texts. I gathered receipts. I pulled bank records. Call it paranoia. Call it preparation. I didn't trust them not to come after me, not to spin this into a sob story that made me the villain. But mostly, I needed it for myself. I needed proof that I hadn't imagined all of it, that I hadn't made this mess up in my head, that I wasn't crazy for cutting off people who treated me like a resource instead of a son. Later that night, my girlfriend came home and found me at my desk surrounded by papers and spreadsheets. "Are you okay?" she asked. I looked up at her and smiled for the first time that day. "Yeah," I said. "I'm just cleaning house." The next morning, I woke up to a new email. This time, it was from my mother. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even apologetic. It was worse. "I know what you've been told. It's not the full story. I think we should sit down, just you and me. No yelling, just talking. You'll understand when I explain. Please." There was no subject line. No "love, Mom." Just that. And despite everything, my fingers hovered over the reply button for a full minute. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe there was a version of this story where she didn't mean to hurt me, where it was all just a misunderstanding or a string of bad choices she made with good intentions. But I knew better. Deep down, I knew. I closed the email. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I opened a new folder on my desktop and labeled it "When They Come Back," because something told me they weren't done. I waited exactly 3 days before I responded to my mother's email. Not because I needed time to think. My mind had been made up the moment I read it, but because I wanted her to feel the same silence she'd always used to punish me. The same cold nothingness I felt every time she ignored me unless she needed something. I let her stew in uncertainty. I wanted her to know what it was like to send a message into the void and wonder if it would ever be answered. When I finally did reply, I kept it brief. "We don't need to meet. I already understand. You only call me when I'm useful. That ends now." That was it. No love, no soft ending, no opening for a conversation. I sent it and blocked her email. Then I blocked Zach's. Then Dad's. One by one, I removed the last access points they had to me. I even changed my phone number the next day. I didn't tell them where I moved. Yeah, I moved. I've been thinking about it for months. My lease was nearly up, and the condo was starting to feel like a museum filled with memories I didn't want to relive. Every time I opened my closet and saw the Christmas sweater Mom mailed me 3 years ago, I remembered how she told me I looked a little fat in the family photo. Every time I used the extra bedroom, I thought about how Zach crashed there for just 2 weeks and stayed 4 months rent-free. So I packed up, found a new place in a quieter neighborhood. Bigger kitchen, a backyard for the dog I always said I'd get. Fresh start. The day I handed over the keys to my old condo, I felt this strange mix of freedom and grief. Like I was mourning a version of myself I was finally ready to bury. The loyal son, the people pleaser, the peacekeeper, the guy who swallowed every insult with a smile and wrote the check anyway. That guy was gone. My girlfriend moved in with me a few weeks later. We didn't make a big deal of it. She just showed up one Saturday with 3 duffel bags, a plant, and a smile that said, "I'm in this with you." And that was enough. We painted the guest room a warm navy blue, hung up shelves, bought matching mugs. For once, everything in my home felt like mine. Not borrowed, not conditional, not bought with guilt. Then, one night in early spring, something strange happened. A certified letter arrived at my new address. No return name, just a typed label. I opened it slowly, half expecting legal drama. Maybe Zach trying to sue me for emotional distress or some nonsense about unlawful eviction. But what I found was worse in a way. It was a letter from my dad, handwritten, neatly folded, on paper with the church logo in the top right corner, the same church where my mother volunteered, where Zach occasionally posed for holiday photos to make it look like he was turning his life around. "Julian, your mother doesn't know I'm writing this. She wouldn't approve. But I couldn't let things end the way they have. I know I haven't always been the father you needed, and I know we leaned on you too hard for too long. That's on us. But you've made your point. We're struggling now. You got what you wanted." That line made my blood boil. I don't expect forgiveness, but I do hope someday you'll remember where you came from. We're not perfect, but we're still your family. Dad. I didn't show it to my girlfriend. I didn't respond. I just burned it in the fire pit we'd built in the backyard the week before. I watched the paper curl and blacken and finally disappear. It felt symbolic. Not angry, not vengeful, just final. That summer, Zach messaged my girlfriend on Instagram. Yeah, he had the nerve to reach her when he realized I'd blocked him everywhere. "Hey, Tell Julian we're selling mom's wedding ring to make rent. He can at least buy that back. She didn't reply. She showed me the message, then blocked him too. We sat on the porch that night, sipping iced tea, watching the sunset. Do you think they'll ever stop trying to reach you? She asked. I thought about it for a while. No, I said, but I'll stop hearing them. And I did. Months passed. Then a year. I started therapy. It helped more than I expected. I talked about the things I'd never said out loud before, the time mom said I was too emotional when I cried in 4th grade, the way dad only called when something broke, the hollow birthday text sent 4 hours late with no punctuation, no warmth. I grieved a family I never really had. I reconnected with people who mattered, college friends, coworkers, my mentor from my first tech job who once told me, your kindness is your greatest asset, but don't let people weaponize it against you. I got promoted. Bought a second car, not for anyone else this time, just because I wanted one. That October, I threw myself a birthday party. First one in years. I rented out a rooftop lounge. Invited 20 people. Catered the food. Had music, lights, cake with my name on it. No one forgot. No one acted like they were doing me a favor by showing up. Halfway through the night, I stood on the edge of the rooftop, looking out over the city, and I felt this strange tightness in my chest. It wasn't sadness. It was peace. Later, I got a text from an unknown number. I saw photos. I hope you're happy. We're barely getting by, and you're out there throwing parties. I blocked it without a word. Because yeah, I was happy. For once in my life, I was surrounded by people who didn't need me to suffer so they could thrive. I didn't need them to suffer either. I just needed them gone. And they were. A year later, I legally removed them as emergency contacts. Changed the beneficiaries on my accounts. Had my lawyer update my will. If anything ever happened to me, they'd never see a cent. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. Out of choice. My story doesn't end with a dramatic confrontation. There was no teary reunion, no last-minute change of heart. Just silence. The kind of silence that fills up the space where chaos used to live. And honestly, that silence is the sweetest sound I've ever heard.